I was struck by a few things this week. The first that I'll mention is the collect that we prayed at the beginning of Mass. Almighty, ever-living God, constantly accomplish the Paschal mystery within us. Before I go further, I think it's worthwhile, not to insult anyone, but to make sure we understand what the Church means by the Paschal mystery. Paschal is a Greek word translating the Hebrew word Pesach, which means Passover. You remember the story of Passover, that God told Moses to tell the Jewish people to mark their lintels with blood, and the angel of death passed over those houses with that marking. Refers to that, and then the completion of it is God leading through Moses the Jewish people out of slavery, out of Egypt, into the promised, at least across the Jordan and into freedom. So for us, the fulfillment of that's a type. The fulfillment of it is Jesus' passion, his suffering, his death, the resurrection, and ascension into heaven. That is our Passover, leading us out of the slavery of sin, or slavery to sin and to the Satan, into the freedom. And this is from one of my theology dictionaries. The Paschal mystery refers to the whole of salvation offered to humankind as an event which converts the whole history of men and women. And so there are two parts of it. It is an event that happened in the past 2,000 years ago. But accomplish the Paschal mystery doesn't make any sense if we think of it only as that one event. It's not just the event, it's the invitation to conversion by men and women. And so we have those two stages. And the event is made available to Christians through the liturgy and the committed Christian life. And so every time we celebrate the Mass, we represent that Paschal mystery. We make it present again. There's only one sacrifice, Jesus on the cross. What we do here is continue that sacrifice. And the graces that flow to us from the liturgy are the graces flowing from Calvary. But those graces are for a reason. And they are to bring us to conversion. And that happens through the committed Christian life. And so, just a couple more sentences from that. The basic pattern of Christian living is Paschal. That means that Christian life is happening in terms of a transition. It is the movement from dark to light, from captivity to freedom, from dryness to growth, from alienation to union. And so there's a flow to the Christian life. We should be able to look back and say, I sin less now than I did 5 years ago. My sins are less serious than they were 5 years ago. I'm more loving, more understanding, more patient, etc., than I was 5 years ago, a year ago. And if we can't say that, if we don't see that progression, something is not right with our lives. You see, it's not enough that Christ rose from the dead. That's necessary, right? But it's not enough. That event, Christ rising from the dead, should turn us. It must turn us from sin to goodness, from hatred to love. So that's the first thing, to accomplish the Paschal mystery within us. The second thing is something that someone said to me. They were talking about their frustration with the traffic the other day when Kamala Harris was in Cincinnati. And if you drove around here at all, you knew even down the Phil it was crazy, really. And he was expressing his frustration, and I was thinking to myself, yeah, I get the same thing in traffic, But then he said, and he rolled his eyes when the vice president was here. Clearly, the vice president was not this person's favorite person in the world, And the reason it struck me is because we all know, I hear it all the time, that one of the problems, the big problems facing our country and the world is the division among us. Whatever that comes out to be, whether it's political ideology or religion or race, doesn't matter. It's a huge problem for us, right? And he was mentioning that he used God's name in an unflattering way as he was thinking about our vice president, And I thought, how many Christians Friday were speaking ill of Kamala Harris or the traffic, whatever, or the person driving in front of them? And how many times have I heard over the last years, bad speech about Donald Trump or George Bush or Barack Obama, And it occurred to me that we think, as I said, one of the big problems of our country is the division. And I often hear, and I feel it myself, what can I do about it? There's nothing I can do about all this. And it's not true, really. It's not true. Can do something to fix this. Because, see, any opportunity for evil is an opportunity for good. As I asked him, I said, while you were in the car speaking ill of Kamala Harris, you could have been praying for her. And the idea looked like it brought some surprise to him, You've heard me say this before many times. If you have time to worry, you have time to pray. So similarly, I would say, if we have time to curse someone, and by curse, I mean, I'm kind of using that as an umbrella term for speaking ill about someone, or even literally cursing about them, or complaining about them, rolling our eyes at them, whatever. If we have time to curse people, we have time to pray for them. And we Christians really have to stop thinking of ourselves first as citizens of the world or of a country or whatever, and as Christians first. And what does that mean for us to think in that way? First, I'd say the biggest problem is not really the division. It's the evil that underlies it. Think about this. This is what Paul writes to the Ephesians. You'll recognize this. For we are not contending against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, against the powers, against the world rulers of this present darkness, against the spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. I might put it this way. Kamala Harris isn't the problem. Donald Trump is not the problem. Satan is the problem. And I'd go even further. Obama or Bush are not the problem. The problem is the evil that's in me, that I participate in. In that sense, I'm really the problem. You see, even if we are cursing those who are doing evil, it doesn't stop the evil. It just puts more evil in the world. Take an extreme example. If I murder an abortionist, someone doing abortions, I haven't stopped the evil of abortion. I've just put more evil in the world. By cursing others, we're actually cooperating with the devil. We're not cooperating with God. Here's the image. I was thinking of this. We take these things too personally. like what some bishop does or says, or what some pastor does, or what some politician. And here's the image. You guys have seen this or participated in it. After a baseball game or basketball game, they line up, and they walk past each other. Good game, good game, good game, Or on the football field, you'll see after the game's over, the players actually talking to each other, hugging each other, praying with each other. I've seen that before, In other words, it's not personal. I don't hate the opposing quarterback. I just want to stop him from being successful in completing that pass, But we don't treat people, especially politicians or whatever, like this. We treat it as somehow they're our personal enemy. We talk about them, And you can listen to TV or radio or whatever. You can hear just vile things said about politicians. And we feel good about it because we think we're right. This is not right. Think of this. If Christians aren't bringing love to the world, who is going to? Paul says, we have the love of Christ poured into our hearts. We are the very people who have to be putting love and goodness into the world, not contributing to evil or cooperating or bringing more in, And you might recoil, you say, my God, pray for Kamala Harris, pray for Donald Trump. But listen, this from Matthew's gospel, you remember this. You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons and daughters of your Father who is in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the just and the unjust. If God can love those who do evil, why can't we? I have a long list of people I pray for various reasons, suffering or difficulties, or they're pregnant, or trying to get a new job, whatever, Some time ago, I added a section to my list of those people who don't like me, who aggravate me, with whom I'm angry, who have sent me funky emails, whatever, doing things I don't like. And I pray for them every day. None of you are on that list, of course. Because prayer for someone is an act of love. And I don't pray that they change or they stop sending me emails. I just pray for them, for their good. Ask God to bless them. Sometimes I'll give a decade of my rosary to them, Because prayer as an act of love will bring me to love them, which I'm called to do. I can't change their behavior. Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I don't know what's good and bad anyway. So I pray for them, and I cannot suggest too strongly to you to do the same thing. Put those people on your list and pray for them until you love them. If we do that, then we can call ourselves Christians. So I talked to a priest friend of mine. He asked me what I was going to preach about, and I told him, and he says, that's kind of a small thing, just people grumbling about a politician, And that's the third thing that struck me this week. I thought, wow, if it's so small, why is it so hard for us to stop doing it? And also the other thing about small, I heard, you hear this it kind of as a sort of a feel-good thing, about small acts of kindness in the world. Well, if small acts of kindness have such power, why wouldn't a small act of evil have as much power? And why are we comfortable even with a small evil? I don't want any evil in my soul. I don't want to contribute any more evil to the world. I've put enough evil in the world as it is in my lifetime. I would like to not put any more evil in the world. I would like to put only love and goodness in the world. And I think we should be concerned about any evil we do, because evil of any kind comes from Satan. I don't want to cooperate with Satan anymore. I want to cooperate with Jesus and what he wants to do, And so back to the collect. Constantly accomplish the Paschal mystery within us, that those you are pleased to make new in holy baptism may bear much fruit and come to the joys of eternal life. If we're not bearing fruit, must not be attached to the vine, Jesus, Are we branches of Jesus, the true vine, or are we branches of Satan who brings evil in the world? If we let Jesus' Paschal mystery be accomplished in us, not only will we come to eternal life, but will contribute to the good in the world and maybe bring others to eternal life as well. Let's think about even the small things we do. And if at first you say something and you catch yourself, fine, stop. Just say a little prayer. I repent of that, Jesus, in your name. Pray for that person, a small, short prayer, and go on. Because pretty soon you'll find yourself catching it before you say it. And then you won't even start to say it. Jesus wants to accomplish his Paschal mystery in us. He wants to bring us from darkness to light. Let us cooperate with him so he can accomplish what he wants to accomplish.